Welcome again to Joe Stunner Boxing. So Jared Anderson, rather surprisingly to a lot of people, including myself, gets taken the distance by Charles Martin, who took that fight on 11 days' notice. And this was a pretty good heavyweight fight, and it revealed a few things about Anderson. A few of the question marks were given answers, at least temporary answers, because of course you can learn from these experiences and improve. To start with, both guys came out. And Martin's a southpaw, Anderson is orthodox, although he does switch hit, more of that later. And their lead hands, they were sort of pouring with their lead hands, and it was almost like they were banging hands, like vying for that space between them. Anderson immediately was putting the pressure on Martin, probably mentally as well as physically. He was edging towards him, cutting the ring off, really looking to sort of set up his right hand. Martin, meanwhile, jabbing, pouring, feinting, a little bit of feinting going on with that, sort of feinting with the hand rather than with the body. But definitely Anderson was the guy he was the hunter, and Martin looked like either he was going to be the hunted or he was going to be the matador to the bull. Well, second round, I gave the first round to Anderson on a little bit more activity, although they were both sort of having a look at each other. Second round, similar stuff. I thought Anderson was edging a bit closer. It was quite ominous. Although to be fair, Martin, who looked like the bigger man, he weighed more, but he looked, physically his dimensions and his natural weight looked much bigger than Anderson, and yet he was the one backing off, and he was using the ring well. He was moving around the perimeter of the ring. He wasn't letting Anderson get set. He wasn't giving Anderson too many opportunities. In the third round, though, Anderson switched to southpaw, so suddenly Martin is facing a southpaw. And right at the end of the third round, Martin fired the backhand, which of course is his left hand. It went over, it missed Anderson. Anderson countered with his own, was it a right hand or a left hand? I think it was his own left hand. I can't remember. But anyway, he caught Martin flush on the jaw. Martin hits the floor, legs in the air, tries to make out that the legs got tangled. They didn't. It was a legitimate knockdown, but it was the end of the round, so no problem. Martin sits down, he's fine, lies are clear. Legs aren't, rubbery or anything. But, just as well it was at the end of the round. In the fourth round, Anderson again stalking. Martin, backing off, using the ring, firing his own backhand. He was constantly firing. I say constantly. He was as the rounds progressed. Martin was firing that backhand, that left cross, more and more frequently, and Anderson was slipping it. He was slipping every one of them. I think one of the commentators commented on this. And he just couldn't find the range, Martin. And he was jabbing okay. His jab was okay. When he fired the backhand, it just wasn't finding a target. And you thought, well, he's in trouble now. Martin's in trouble here. If he can't land that backhand, he ain't going to win just by flicking out a few jabs and racking up points that way. That ain't going to happen, especially as he's on the back foot, the bigger man on the back foot. But then in the fifth round, suddenly Martin connected. And he shook Anderson. And for the first time in his career, Jared Anderson was in some serious trouble. Went in with 14 wins. It was 14 wins, no defeats, no draws, and 14 KOs. Most of them early. Never been beyond 6. In the fifth round, suddenly he's in some trouble, and he's in front of his hometown people. So he's shaken, and then Martin again lands the backhand again and again and again. And this is suddenly he's found a home for that backhand, and you're thinking, what's going on here? Is this an upset? Anderson, regroups in round 6. That was certainly the first round I gave. Fifth round was certainly the first round I gave Martin. In the sixth round, he regroups and he starts to jab more. I think he went back to orthodox, jabbing very, very well. Jab, controlled Martin and put Martin back in his box. But then in the eighth round, the seventh round was similar. In the eighth round, I thought Martin landed enough punches, again, the backhand very dangerous. When it landed heavy. I mean, Martin can bang. He's got 23 wins, I think, and no, 29 wins and about 27, 28, 26 knockouts, something like that. So he can bang a bit himself. And in the eighth round, I thought that was the only... I made this 98-92 at the end of it to Jared Anderson, and the only 2 rounds I gave Martin were the fifth, which he totally dominated, and the eighth, where I thought he landed enough to win that round for me. But the ninth and the 10th rounds belonged to Anderson, and Martin actually finished the fight with some swellings around his eyes, some abrasions, nothing major. Anderson didn't seem to have a dent in him at all. They spoke to him after the fight. He said, I was a little bit buzzed in the fifth, but it's no big deal. But Martin, I don't know, he wasn't going to... I know what he was trying to do. He was trying to land a knockout punch. He was in Anderson's hometown, in his backyard, in Ohio, and he probably weren't going to get any decisions, certainly not any close ones. But yeah, Anderson needs to work on his defence, absolutely. But he will be a better fighter for having gone 10 rounds with a very big, naturally, in terms of natural weight and height and dimensions, southpaw. He will be a much better fighter for that. But he's not ready to take over the division. He needs another couple of 10 rounders, maybe a couple of 12 rounders, 10 or 12 rounders before he even thinks of challenging for titles. And of course, he's spoken about wanting to retire when he's 26, 27. He may have to put that on hold if he wants to be a champion and make the real big money. Maybe 29 or 30, retire then, But there was some good stuff there. But, they asked questions of Anderson and he answered them. And also, he looked okay. He didn't look bad. When he was hit, he showed a good chin. It's just that you don't want to get hit, especially against, a big, heavy-handed southpaw. But he went through it. He came through the fire and he's okay. So I think there's a lot, there's stuff to work on, definitely, with Anderson, but don't write him off yet. As for Martin, I think he's 37 now. Yeah, he's probably coming to the end now. He seemed very sort of, I'm just glad to be here in the post-fight interviews. Applauded Anderson, said he was a really good fighter. Martin's won the IBF title, albeit briefly, and then he lost it to DJ, of course, got smashed up. But, at least he can say he once held a belt, made a bit of money. He's doing all right, And you can maybe pick up another couple of paychecks. But did you see the fight? Leave your comments below. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Hit the like button as always. Spread the word about Joe Stunner Boxing. I'll read your comments and answer them. It was a good fight. I enjoyed it. And until next time, bye for now.